consistent line from the camp. So if at the very least that signals that until the budget is passed, that puts us in the time frame of around middle of November of December already, and then by then wala na, all bets are off.
Oo nga. Eh, nabanggit mo yung COVID, isa pang malaking
Sabi na
story
nga.
ngayon, of course. Si US President, di ba?
Oh,
Donald
yes.
Trump.
Yes.
Yung pinag-uusapan ng lahat. Si
And Melania Trump, di
and
ba?
the First Lady, oo.
Mm.
Ayan, nakakatawa yung mga reaction ng mga tao.
It's hard to say
Hindi
it's hard to say if it was a surprising event kasi he's
Yes.
been flaunting
Yeah.
he's been flaunting his refusal to wear a mask. In fact,
Oo
Yeah.
nga.
Yeah, but
discouraging.
I mean, yeah, and it seems, well, as far as that yung testing positive is concerned, mukha namang asymptomatic siya. That's the presumption right now, di ba? But we have to wait for a few days. Not that anybody's waiting for the symptoms. But a bigger implication is really we're a month away from U.S. election.
Yes.
And one thing about Donald Trump is he has continued to try to have his rallies in front of a physical audience. He's had a couple of actual rallies, not the big amounts of thousands and thousands, but this really does cramp his style in a way. And there's a real question of how this will further affect the upcoming elections. We're only a month away, as we said.
And also,
Saka ang tanong
could it possibly get him sympathy votes? And would his
that's
opponents lay off a bit, given the fact that he's sick with COVID-19?
Mm.
Tanungan ngayon, sino-sino yung mga nahawa, no? Pati yung White House press corps, natatakot. Kinumayan ba niya si Joe Biden? Hindi ko napanood yung umpisa ng debate.
Hindi
yata, no.
nagkamay.
I think even without COVID, I think even without COVID, socially distancing dalawang yan.
Kaya kumakalat pa rin talaga. So, yun ang pag-usapan natin.
Sila,
ngayon.
anti-social distancing yun kahit walang COVID-19. Sige, I can hear Segway coming in.
Yun. Yun pa rin talaga ang problema natin, yung pagkalat ng COVID. We're going to talk about two mayors, no?
Yeah,
Na may problema pa rin.
Yeah, we will zoom into some specific areas in the country. And for our first guest tonight, we will bring in Iloilo City Mayor Jerry Treñas. Mayor Treñas, good evening po and welcome to the Chiefs.
Hi, good evening to everyone.
Good evening po.
Okay, maraming salamat for joining us tonight. Well, Mayor, I would have to admit that we've been so preoccupied with the numbers of Metro Manila that we sometimes tend to neglect looking into the situation in other parts of the country. Let's zoom into to your area, Iloilo City. How are your numbers there? We understand na medyo mataas pa yung inyong R0. I think it's at 1.36, and that's quite high.
The numbers are high. The latest active cases, I think for yesterday is about 500 plus because we already have recoveries. But still, the numbers are high. No? Or today, I think so far, for the report that have already come in, there are about 68 positive cases for today. So far, because the reports come in up to 12 a.m.
But I think you were under MECQ for only a week since the end of last month. And then you shifted back to GCQ. But po bigla nagbabago-bago?
We requested for an MECQ. And when the IATF made up a new classification, we were together with the others in GCQ and we did not complain anymore.
Merong utos ngayon, Mayor, merong approval ngayon yung IATF saka pinupush ng DTI na more activities will be opened na. No, economic activities, pati film production, saka yung mga restaurants gagawin na daw na 50% capacity. Is Iloilo ready for this? Sa mga GCQ daw pwede na. Is Iloilo...
Palagay ko, for a long time, I think we will be under this kind of situation. And for the whole week, I have been looking at ways to already think away from what protocols have been given because we've been in this state for the past 7, 8 months, and nothing seemed to work. So we should start thinking of other things that we have to do. Uh, why is it that other countries in the ASEAN have already controlled it? Why is it that Taiwan has
Yes.
seemed to control it? I think it's really about time that we should talk to these countries. As a matter of fact, I have started already trying to get in touch with Taiwan
Mm.
so that we will also understand what they did. Uh,
Mm.
After 8 months, I think the three of you will agree with me
Yes.
that there is something wrong. Perhaps we should look at other ways to
Mm.
control this
Mm.
virus.
But Mayor, if you don't mind, let us ask you that question. What is missing? What haven't we tried? And what is not working from what you could see?
You know, I have done everything. We do contact tracing. We do testing. We get results now after a day. And we have private laboratories that can give you results after 5 hours, 6 hours. Uh, After a week or two, Iloilo City will have its own testing laboratory. But that is the what I am asking. Are there certain things that the other countries have been doing that we are not doing? Perhaps it's really about time that our leaders should start asking themselves whether they are a success after 8 months. You know, we have been under quarantine, whether it is ECQ or whatever, for the past 7 or 8 months.
Mm.
Uh, Life must go on.
Mm.
I think I understand where DTI would like us to go, and I would like to do the same thing. Uh, I just want to see other ways on how to control this. Uh,
But Mayor, you must have something in mind kasi if you are looking for other ways of doing things, I suppose you have fished around already. You have looked around. You
Mm.
must have formed some opinions as to what we haven't tried yet or what we should be avoiding.
well, for one, I think we should go on a massive media campaign, really, to make our people understand. You go to the barangays, people are not wearing masks.
Mm.
Uh, they're not observing physical distancing.
Mm.
You know, uh, and I saw the pictures in Quiapo this morning, or was it this morning or yesterday?
Morning.
And people were to have totally forgotten about the virus.
Mm.
So
But Mayor, I mean, but,
how can we expect to get out of
mm.
this uh,
But
black
yeah,
hole?
but Mayor, do we have to look outside the country? Because I mean, you compare country to country, that's true. But you look at different LGUs. Some LGUs are having much better, are faring much better than other LGUs. Is there anything to learn? And then, are there particular areas and local leaders that you're also tapping and consulting on how they're doing it?
I'd like to listen to a local leader, but please point me to someone.
Mayor, paano po yung contact tracing ninyo? Kasi Taiwan is ang inumpisahan ng maaga ng Taiwan is the contact
Our
tracing.
contact tracing is doing very well.
Yes, very good, really. Yung phone
Our people were trained by General Magalong. They were also trained by General Feliciano, who was assigned by General Simato here.
Hmm.
So General Galvez has been here several times. But if there is a local government unit that you think has been doing very well, I think you should highlight them.
Well, Mayor, not just us, but speaking of, yun, nabanggit nyo na nga po, si Mayor Magalong, and now he's been given really an advisory role on the national level. What about Baguio? What about a place like Baguio? Starting to open up, still very, very slowly.
I
And
saw that the numbers in Baguio started going up already. I think
yes.
I read it in the Star.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, you just give me a name because we will talk to them.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Kaya
But
tinatanong
Mayor,
ko,
I
Mayor,
understand po-
is Iloilo ready for this?
We were doing well. We were doing rather well until they started sending the LSI and the oil.
Hmm.
Okay. So ready po ba kayo na?
Once
Halimbawa,
we,
yung curfew gagawin na daw 11. Okay ba sa inyo yon? 11.
I'm okay without the curfew, but at the moment, we still have the ban on the alcoholic drinks.
Hmm.
It's really difficult if people start drinking. I mean, even in the United States, in New York, cases started to go up. I really feel that there are certain countries have been doing rather well, no? Which I think we should try to study. Vietnam, Taiwan, a lot of them in the ASEAN. I think we cannot claim that we have succeeded in controlling the virus. Some cities, it's slower because they have not started to open up. But once we start opening up, we start receiving the LSI and the RFW, the cases start to go up. Our people in the disaster who was in charge of fetching the LSIs and the RFW also caught the virus. And even our head of the disaster unit.
So,
Sir, and I do understand your point that there's a need for a media campaign to spread the word, but it's already been 6 months, and I would think that media has talked so much already about the virus, about its effects, about what people should be doing, and you have government as well every day on television and on radio talking about it. Baka po it also boils down to enforcement on the local level. Kasi kanina you spoke about people in barangays who are not wearing masks. Shouldn't the barangay captains be the ones going around telling people to wear masks, enforcing it with the help of local police? Kasi
Aside
yung
from
mask
the
requirement po is already
aside from the PNP, I have 500 persons hired by the city government only to make sure that all the minimum health protocols are observed. I call them our compliance officers. So, aside from the compliance officers, we have the barangay officials, we have the PNP, we have the soldiers of the AFP in the lockdown barangays. I think, I really feel after 7 months, 7 or 8 months of being in the forefront of fighting this virus, there is something lacking that we are doing, and I'm trying to look for that.
Yeah, Mayor, if you zoom in on City Hall, for example, I mean, the recommendation to go back to MECQ came after employees within the city treasurer's office tested positive for COVID-19. You take that, zooming in on that example, ano po nangyari sa City Hall?
If I will ask you, have you done mass testing in your station? Do you know that the people around you are negative or positive?
Mm.
If you start doing mass testing, then I tell you, my friend, you will discover that a lot of people are symptomatic.
Mm. Okay. Now, Mayor, where does this put you? I mean, beyond Iloilo, where does this now put
You know,
your
I
concern
tested
for
3,000 of
everything?
the employees, and
Mm.
out of the 3,000, 90 turned positive.
Mm.
So
Mm.
they go home
Yeah.
to their
Yeah.
houses, and their houses are located in the barangays. So how can we
Mm.
control what happens in the barangays? When they go to their house, they greet a friend. The friend will start a conversation with them. And then when they go back to City Hall, then they're now asymptomatic, and then they work. You know, among I think the many city halls all over the country, we never stop working. City Hall is still open, and I think this is a realization that we really have to understand that there's a lot of asymptomatic positive patients all around
Mm.
us, and we have
Mm.
to. I decided that we are going to do random testing every week so that
Okay.
we just make sure that all the departments are free of the virus.
Mayor, in
Okay.
the meantime,
Now,
sa Monday, mag-school opening na. How prepared is the city for this? Kasi you're talking about asymptomatics. Yung mga teacher, magsisipasok pa din yan and they're meeting with parents. Ano po yung mga preparations ng city for the school opening?
We are trying to do our best to help out. We bought risograph machines. We have bought laptops for the teachers. We even bought paper and all the other consumables that they need. And we have not really done mass testing with the teachers, but I do not really know how prepared DepEd is in the opening of the classes. I am just looking at how the education can go on, considering that DepEd relies mostly on the LGUs. Not all LGUs can fund 1.5 billion laptop procurement like the one in Pasig. The small LGUs cannot afford that. So what will happen to education in the meantime in those places? So my question is really, how prepared is DepEd? Because
mm.
it is really DepEd that is bent on opening up the classes. The
Mm.
LGU will only support, and as much as we can support, I think we have initially appropriated 15 million for the procurement of laptops for the teachers. That is not even enough because we have 2,700 teachers. So we will have to look for other funds.
Hmm. Mayor, outside, beyond Iloilo, on a national level, malaki rin po ang push to start to reopen tourism. And where is your, ano pong thinking nyo dito? Boracay has opened up, Bohol wants to open up, Baguio in the north is trying to open up. As you said nga, now we're starting to monitor a little spike in numbers in Baguio, although they're saying that is not due to any visitors from outside. But all in all, given the pressure to reopen, particularly tourism, ano pong thinking nyo dyan?
I think we should reopen. We cannot be in this quarantine forever. We just have to have testing and we can immediately isolate those who are positive. But we have to reopen. We have to end this quarantine once and for all because the economy is in a standstill. Many businesses have already closed and people have no work. So we cannot be in this state forever. I think we try to open up. We as long as we have testing, uh, facilities. While we are looking for other answers to really control the virus, we have to open up the economy. And for those who are symptomatic, let's just isolate them. But we cannot be in this state forever.
Mayor, the schools and businesses will need public transportation. Kumusta naman po yung sitwasyon dyan ng mass transportation? Have you allowed all already, all units, all types of transport?
Nabuksan ng transport, but for the jeepney, LTFRB and LTO only allows them 6 passengers. So, kawawa naman sila. I don't think they will be able to earn a living with only 6 passengers at one time. So, I have scheduled a meeting with the LTFRB and LTO by next week. Maybe we should look for ways to also help them out during these times. As long as there are partitions, I think everyone will be safe. And anyway, we require everyone to have a face mask and a face shield when they are traveling.
Pero papayagan nyo, you will continue accepting LSIs, of course.
Yes,
Other
but
provinces.
I sent an EO to the IATF, which was the basis of our discussions this afternoon. I am asking them to send LSIs and OFWs to Iloilo as long as they have RT-PCR negative test 72 hours from the flight. With the OFW, I think there is no problem because OWA pays for that.
Yeah.
But the regional IATF have had problems with the LSI because there is no agency that will pay for that, and the LSIs might have some problems.
So ang problema is regional, regional LSI, not just from Metro Manila.
It's the regional IATF that looks at our executive orders and thereafter sends it to the national IATF. That's the procedure that they have.
Okay, maraming salamat po. Iloilo City Mayor Jerry Treñas. Sir, maraming salamat for joining us tonight.
Thank you po, Mayor.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will just go into a break, so please stay with us.
Welcome back to the Chiefs. We're now in the final stage of our conversation. And now joining us is Professor Edmund Tayao of the Ateneo School of Government. Good evening, Professor. Welcome back to the Chiefs.
Good evening po.
Sir?
Okay. Professor, nakakadalawang interview na kami on what's happening in the House of Representatives. Gulong-gulo pa rin kami.
magulo naman talaga. Wala tayong magawa dyan.
Kaya hanggang ngayon, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung galaw. But I want to focus on one thing. Merong speculation ngayon na mukhang nagbe-break away yung House from Malacanang at hindi na sinusunod. And our president is turning into a lame duck now this early. Do you think this is correct? This is a correct perception?
Well, all presidents usually, in fact, the moment you elect a president, precisely because we only have a one-term president, it's, to be honest, a kind of weird setup that we've put in place in the 1987 Constitution. That's why precisely we'd like to correct that in the event that it's possible to introduce any reform. Kasi alam mo, wala kang referendum doon sa wala kang checking mechanism doon sa presidente, and then of course we don't want to go back in history why we the framers of the 1987 Constitution put in place only a single term presidency, but it definitely impacts on the the performance of the president and so on and so forth. But anyway, having said that, kung ako ang politiko, ako ang miyembro ng Kamara, ako ang senador, for example, I'd take into account that the president remains quite popular. But apart from that, apart from the president being popular compared to many of the other presidents also were popular on their way out, no? But doesn't necessarily mean that it's transferable to whoever he is going to support or anoint by 2022. But up to now, kasi wala ka pang makita na pwede mong sabihin talaga na alternative candidate, no? Whether with the opposition that we know, which is of course the group of the previous administration, or a new opposition for that matter, no? So wala pa unless of course there's going to be another black swan. Wag naman sana may mamamatay, no? Just so that someone will suddenly rise up and offer as a viable candidate to whoever the administration will support, no, by 2022. Right now, what's happening in the House, I think, is an intramural, no, between two groups within the administration. And again, this is systemic, precisely because our administration always tends to have the different groups converge. Well, ayaw mo maging minority kasi it's a winner-take-all system that we have. So kung minority ka, bukod sa malayo ko sa kusina, wala ka talaga matatanggap na whatever benefit whatsoever. So you like to be in the majority, and because the majority is so huge, there's quite very little space for you to make sure that you have something secured for you, no, come next election. Hence, this kind of intramurals.
Prof,
Professor,
is this about 2022, the presidential elections on 2022? Do you think it's directly related to that? Preparations going to that?
Oo, ano na ito? Ed, kwan na eh. In fact, the reason why it's really imperative that you talk about the leadership in the House is because you're talking of the budget eh.
Yes.
However we try to look at, I mean, of course, I'm not a Congress. I don't think I'll ever going to be in public service. I never wanted to be in. I mean, I could be in public service without having to be elected. In course, no? I mean, if you're a friend of mine in Facebook, you'll see how it is there. No, I mean, people probably mistake me for whatever kind of politician. So ask me for one or two things or whatever. But what I'm saying is, kung politiko kang tao, no, alam mo na. It would be good for everyone to be part of the budget process kasi election period nga itong susunod eh. Ang problema kasi gusto mo lion share talaga sa iyo, no? Eh kung ako, whether I'm the outgoing speaker or I'm the presumptive speaker, I'd like to, make an effort na involve kasi alam mo, whether ngayon o sa October o sa December magpalit ng speaker, kung agreed na yung budget, wala ka nang iniisip na mababago pa. Eh kung, okay, you're an outgoing speaker now, and fine, okay, you were able to pass the budget. Eh pupunta pa ng Senado yan eh, hindi ka pa sigurado kung pagkapirma ng GAA for next year, eh sigurado ka na magbabayad ka pa yan. So may sabi, hindi ka sigurado. Ngayon, pagpalagay mo na napasa yung budget, na okay, next year, let's say, nagpalit ng speaker, pwede mo pa rin palitan yan, no? Magkakaroon ka ng supplemental or whatever, or you can In other words, pwede pa ding mabago. Kung
Hmm.
ngayon nag-agree na sila,
Ay,
it is
Professor,
people's interest to agree.
Hmm.
Hindi nga ginagawa yun.
Professor, I mean, what would you credit Alan Cayetano for as a politician and as the House leader? May hawak lang ba siyang alas now that he's sitting and presiding over this budget, this very crucial budget heading into 2021, or will you actually credit him for actually consolidating power?
Any incumbent, I have to say, Rob, has an advantage. So, whether there's something really concrete to be credited to Speaker Allen, I'd like to think any incumbent will have something concrete to be credited to him. No, will always be a plus. Okay.
Okay.
Pero yung nangyari kasi nito na bigla-biglang bibitaw siya, meron palang usapan na date supposedly. Tsaka it's not like you're going to resign. And if you're really going to resign and you really intend to vacate the post, will you allow the majority to persuade you not to go? So I don't know. No, I'm sorry, but it's difficult really if you're questioning the sincerity of the group that
No, I'm
supports
not.
the speaker.
It's not the sincerity I'm questioning.
I know.
I really want to know.
I'm just saying that whether or not it's about the credit or not, no, it has something to do with the style that was done in the supposed exit. Kasi doon nagmamatter yun. Kung talagang tungkol sa credit ito, Rob, hindi mo gagamitin yung ganun na style na magre-resign ka na nakadepende pa sa majority vote. Yun ang sinasabi ko.
But I also want to understand paano umabot sa, I mean, this level of, people are still debating and certainly his critics are saying, hindi totoo yung poder niya dyan. Dahil sila lang yung nag-iingay ngayon, kaya yun lang naririnig mo. On the other hand, if you think of it as, no, he's really consolidated power. He really has people who used to be enemies now under the supermajority under him. That's what I want to understand, this process of Alan Cayetano really emerging as a very strong and very confident and really very aggressive leader. Now, I ask because we recall, well, we now know about 15 months ago, because 1521, that 15 months ago when he was running, aminado siya. Even today, aminado siya. He didn't have the numbers. In fact, he wasn't even number 2. Many of the people we interviewed last year said he's probably not even number 3. Kulelat pa siguro si Alan among 4 names being bandied about. And on top of that, yung criticism nila ngayon kay Lord Alan Velasco, I remember a lot of congressmen saying it both on record and off record. They were also saying, the problem with Alan Cayetano, hindi man lang nangangampanya sa amin. Parang nababastusan kami kay Alan Cayetano. He doesn't have the votes. Ang alas niya lang is he is counting on the support of President Duterte. So I just want to understand, it's been a long time and it is a period of crisis, but going from there to now, how did he consolidate his hold on the supermajority?
That's why I call it intramurals. No? If you look it up in the dictionary, people would say, if you don't look it up in the dictionary, you'd say intramurals is a word that's applicable to students, no, or people in school. But no, when you say intramurals, it's some kind of an activity that concerns only those who are in a particular profession or in a particular organization. Having said that, only members of Congress actually know whatever standard or whatever reference they have for choosing the speaker. No, parang speaker de Venecia lang yan. No, sa labas, hindi siya popular, pero he ended up to be the longest serving speaker. Now, the numbers are there or not there depends significantly on the president, whether we like it or not. No? So right now, perhaps the speaker enjoys a substantial number because of the presumption that there's really no categorical message from the president, no, that this is the direction that we're going to take. It's like passing a particular law, like the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Last minute, talagang kailangan pumasok ng presidente kasi walang klarong majority na magpapasa noong very critical na legislation. So I'm not sure really, if you're talking about the House of Representatives, I'm not sure how much credit you can really give with a particular individual getting enough support in order to get the speakership.
Okay, Professor. you're talking about two blocks belonging to the same coalition. I think medyo lumalalim na tong away na to, samaan ng loob. Anong impact neto sa coalition? Will it diffuse the strength of the administration in the coming elections? Hindi ba importante yan na napakalaki ng suporta mo, even if you already said that no matter how popular the president is, hindi siya transferable eh.
Yeah.
You think long-term na tong rift na to? And will it diffuse the clout of the administration in 2022?
Well, of course, it's really a plus, no, for the administration to make sure that there's only one candidate coming from the administration. But ngayon nga, parang imposible mangyari yan. And I can't remember any particular instance, no. I mean, Mitra against former President Ramos, and so many others, no. We don't need to get back in time to just use an example, no. But what I'm saying is, given na yun kasi nga, because of the kind of system that we have, whichever political party you belong to, in fact, it's kind of weird, even if you belong to the same party, for example, no, yung ibang miyembro, no, nasa majority, ibang miyembro, no, nasa minority, parang medyo alanganin, no? Kasi nga, yun yung klase ng sistema natin. Kung gusto mong malapit ka sa opisina, kung gusto mong meron kang kukuha, no, na spoils, no, it's a spoils-driven system, you'd like to be in the majority. Now, in the majority, hindi ibig sabihin lahat yung magkakakampi. Magkakakampi lang sila for, convenience. No? So talagang expected yan pagdating ng 2022, maghihiwalay yan. So, kaya madalas, and the only exception na administration candidate ang nanalo 1992, kasi yung 7 kandidato na tumakbo nun, lahat yung seryosong kandidato ng kampanya talaga yon. Kumpara mo sa mga sumunod na eleksyon, kahit na kasing the same number of candidates run for office, mga 2-3 lang doon yung seryoso. No? So sa madalit sabi, kung ganyan yung magiging scenario by 2022, medyo may advantage talaga yung opposition unless, again, as I've said, yung dalawang components dyan. The president remains popular, and apart from that, the opposition fails to produce a viable candidate.
Sir,
Okay,
let me
but,
throw some variables on the table, and I'd like to ask you to take a look at these variables and tell me how you think they will interact and engage each other in the run-up to 2022. For example, Alan Peter Cayetano, who is said to be looking at 2022 presidential race. You have Bongo, who's doing some very high-profile things in the past year, who's also very close to the president, and some people suspect him to be looking at 2022 as well. And you have Sara Duterte, who is, of course, the president's daughter, but who has a mind of her own and sometimes disobeys the father. And then, of course, you have President Duterte. When you look at these 4 variables, how do you think they will be playing or interacting with each other in the run-up to 2022?
Una, I'm sure the president is not going to run for office anymore. No, I mean, these are all talk and these are all part of the propaganda. As far as Mayor Sara is concerned, you said it right. She's very independent, and that's one of the reasons why some of the members of the official family are not very much keen on supporting her, because she's too independent, and they're not sure whether they will still be part of the government if ever she ends up getting to be the next president. Hence, of course, it's a natural reaction as anyone who's in position. So it's in your interest to remain in position. Hence, you'd like to get involved as much as possible so that you retain your position. So kaya meron palaging faction. So ganyan palagi yan, no? It's a vicious cycle.
But you have Bongo, who some assume to be the anointee of the president.
You have to consider Manny Pacquiao. Some are saying some are saying a businessman. I'm going to mention his name now. Ramon Ang might throw his hat on the ring. I'm not sure if MVP, Manny Pangilinan, who's been always mentioned even in the previous presidential election, might be this time really dragged into the presidential race. But what I'm sure, and what I'm really seeing now, is that so much of the private sector, so much of the big business are actually quite engaged in organizing and preparing for 2020. I'm not sure whether they're already supporting a particular group or candidate, but there's one There's one group that's even I've heard, no, forming its own party, no. So in other words, medyo interesting itong magiging 2022 kasi
Mm.
nga wala pa ngang nag-emerge na klaro na opposition.
Mm.
Kaya lagi
I
mo
mean,
yung-
perfect.
kaya lang ko sinasabi, kaya walang klarong opposition, I don't think there is one that's red, that means Marcos, or yellow, no, na magiging very viable pa din. Siguro kung merong 8 seryosong kandidato, merong pag-asa yung yellow at pula kasi parang may bailiwick. Pero
Well,
kung
Bongbong Marcos did say that he will. Yeah, Bongbong Marcos did say that he will seek another elective national post, although he did not specify. So we presume that's anywhere from senator on up. And let's face it, the name Marcos is always bandied about, has always been bandied about in every national elections since
right.
1986. But I want to get back to President Duterte and Ami's question kanina about the influence, the allegedly waning power of President Duterte. Gaya nga ng sinabi nyo kanina, one thing about the intramurals in the House of Representatives is that walang malinaw na message from Malacanang. They've been hedging. They've said, gusto ng presidente, October 14. Pero kung wala yung numbers ni Lord Alan, wala na kaming magagawa. That's hedging, isn't it? And isn't that, in a way, signaling that they're playing it safe precisely because they don't know where the numbers lie?
No, I don't think so. I myself have seen it firsthand. The president wouldn't tell you anything categorical. He's going to leave you choices. No? But in the event that a choice is made, in whichever, whether in an agency or in an organization for that matter, and he's not inclined to support it or he's not happy about it, and it's important for him to make sure that he's happy with the kind of decision that will be arrived at or the direction that will be taken, that's the time that he's going to come in. Again, my concrete example is the Bangsamoro Organic Law. There were particular provisions there which were, for some reason, they could not decide whether they will put it in or they won't put it in, which was quite crucial to MILF at that time, so the president came in. So in other words, the president will always tell you that you decided because it's in your mandate, but in the event that it becomes unwieldy or too much difficult to handle, he comes in.
Professor, I notice you don't mention Leni Robredo, the Vice President for 2022. Yung intramurals dito sa House, you think it's possible that the opposition will become stronger? And can they take advantage of what's happening now?
Dapat sana, no, it's a good opportunity for them to come in, and sana talaga, no, merong ganyang possibility, whether it's VP Leni or another. Kaya sabi ko, unless merong papasok na viable na candidate, pero so far kasi hindi I mean we've seen how VP Leni has been approaching things, and it's not picking up eh. I mean, even with naging co-chair siya ng anti-drugs, no? Tapos what's this? He addressed the public quite recently with all the props and everything. Hindi nagre-resonate eh. I mean, the message really, I'm not sure whether it's the message. I'm not sure whether it's the delivery. But there's really something that's lacking. That it's not what's this? Taking hold of for lack of a better term, interest of the public. Kaya nga merong intramurals between and amongst people in the administration kasi nga sila lang yung kumbaga pwede nating sabihin viable as of now. Kaya nga sabi
Professor, at every election, I mean, mahina naman ang party system dito. We all know that. I mean, there's no such thing.
Walang party system.
Wala talaga party system. So ang tanong ko is, to your point, na unless na merong viable opposition candidate, how do you define opposition in 2022 anyway? What's an opposition candidate? Anybody na hindi binasbasan ni Duterte.
Anybody na hindi administration. Ganun lang kasi.
Oh, hindi ba si Leni Robredo? Hindi ba si Vice President John?
Hindi, kaya nga, I'm saying she's opposition fine. But whether she's a viable candidate or not is another question.
Mm.
Hindi nga
Well, iba to na rin natin lahat ng mga pangalan that always comes out. I mean, what about Ping Lacson? What about the Ping Lacson? What about the people who ran and almost they gave a credible run in 2016? Senator Grace Poe. What about the Villars?
Okay, medyo parang yan yung mahirap sagutin, no? Yung sabihin na natin ganito, yung mga tumakbo na dati, no? Parang I don't know, I have no reference of any instance. You know, in the social sciences, you're only close to the hard sciences if you have a reference or a comparative example. Eh wala akong maisip na comparative example na lumaban dati at natalo na nagkaroon ng pagkakataon ulit na ulit, no? So I'm not sure kung kasi ibabato sa iyo yung same issue na sa iyo before, and I'm sure anak yan ng iba pang issue with the Speaker Villar and now the wife of Senator Villar. The son appears to be quite making good, no, in the department. Wala akong madinig na skandalo, tahimik, and makikita mo ang daming achievements sa departamento. Pero dahil ang pangalan niya Villar, yung mga issue against the mother and even the father before would definitely be used against him. So ang nadinig ko before and even recently is that he might be a good choice as a vice president. But Manila Mayor Isko Moreno is also
Yes.
being considered as not so much as president just yet, but definitely a shoe-in for vice president. So if Manila Mayor Isko runs as VP, mahihirapan na yung ibang tatakbong VP. Again, if the election is to be held now.
Professor, you mentioned Senator Cynthia Villar. She topped the Senate race, ha? And merong speculation ngayon na the attacks against Alan Peter are also related to party intramurals. Nationalista siya eh. He's with the Villars. And that's arrival of the Davao Bloc. Anyway, that's one of the speculation.
That's true, but wala pa pong kasing nag-top na sa isang senatorial race na nanalo na presidente. It's not really a good yardstick, so to speak, kasi it's a multi-member electoral system in the Senate. You elect 12 senators at a time compared to a president na single-member district lang yan. So plurality lang, isang tao lang yung biniboto mo. So,
Pero it's a good showing for the party. It's a good showing for the party. Nationalista yan eh. Pwede siyang kingmaker.
That's right. Pwede siyang kingmaker, no? Pero yun nga, if we're talking of her running for higher office, medyo pang-usapan na.
Sir, balik ako sa speakership, sir. Aside from yung control doon sa election budget ng isang speaker, does the position give the speaker any particular advantage in coming elections? Kasi we've seen at least 3 speakers post EDSA who ran and lost. You have Mitra, you have Villar, you have Joe De Venecia. So does it really give them any significant advantage sitting as speaker?
Well, if you're a speaker, your advantage is to retain a substantial amount of influence, even if you don't run for office. So, even if you're not a Villar, you are very well in control of a significant amount of resources, so to speak. Hence, you are very, you're a necessary ally, no? Come election day. Kasi ang preparation mo naman for election, hindi yung second half na ng year before the election. Kasi Mayo ka ng 2022 and you need more than 1 year to prepare, especially in this kind of pandemic now that so much of the schedule for preparing for the next election has been set back significantly. And mag-a-adjust pa ang tao kasi hindi mo alam kung kailan matatapos. So much of the resources now are being transitioned into a new approach, like, for example, social media. Kaya medyo mainit yung social media. So, ganun eh. Whether we like it or not, resources matter as far as being speaker is concerned.
What about the issues for 2022? I mean, do we leave the coalition building purely to politics and to personalities, or I mean, we're going to enter. We are in a recession. Obviously, we don't know how long this is going to go. There's a lot hinging on what kind of a turnaround can be managed in 2021. What do you see na namumuo? I mean, speaking of something that an opposition can hang on to and try to build around. What are some potential issues
That's
to really concretize a campaign in 2021 and 2022?
Alam mo, sana nga ganyan yung mga tanong pagdating ng eleksyon. Kasi ibig sabihin, substantive yung yung pag-uusapan natin. And force na magiging programmatic yung ating balitaktakan, no? Yung ating diskurso pagdating ng 2022. Pero katulad nung nabanggit mo, kasi nga systemic eh. Balik pa din tayo doon sa personality-oriented. Secondary lang itong mga issue na ito. So tama yung sinabi mo, kung ikaw yung oposisyon, kailangan kong mamili ano yung pinaka-critical talagang issue na sa tingin ko ay tatamaan talaga yung pakiramdam ng tao at kung halimbawa man ang paniwala mo natutulog sila o medyo parang tawag dito manhid na baka sakaling magising kung tinamaan mo yung tamang issue. So kailangan araling mabuting. You're talking of the pandemic, but again, the problem with it is that whether we like it or not, it's not only the Philippines which is in the same situation. With the information age, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na talagang tayo bumagsak yung ekonomiya natin dahil mali yung handling. Halos lahat talaga, lalahatin ko na ng ekonomiya ng bawat isang bansa bumagsak. So, dapat siguro ma-specify pa natin alin doon talaga yung naging kapalpakan. Pwedeng talagang, sa akin talagang tutukan mo yung mga naging skandal katulad nitong PhilHealth. Ano-ano yung, himayin mo doon, ano-ano yung mga issue no, na related sa pandemic? Meron bang mga naging proyekto na hindi naging successful? Ito lumalabas, merong naglabas ng column. I think it's Mr. Buchanko, no, in one of the broadsheets, no, saying that the budget for RITM could have been a lot bigger, and even the budget for 2021. I don't know. I can't remember the exact amount now, but it seems that the priorities of our policymakers are, I don't know, misplaced, if there's any priority at all, no? So kung mazi-zero in yung at makikita natin ma-concretize natin as concrete as the good-looking white sand Manila Bay, as good-looking as the very nice highway in Sorsogon, and so many other very concrete accomplishments of the administration, then that will really resonate as far as the voters are concerned.
Okay. Maraming salamat po, Professor Edmund Tayo ng Ateneo School of Government. Sir, thank you.
Dapat may bayad din pagka-consulting, no? I was just looking. Thank you for that question. It's really nice.
Salamat pa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wala. Nag-predict si
Election na.
Professor.
Umpisa na ng eleksyon.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we're going over time.
Weekend na.
Let's go for a weekend now. What's the extra thing? Well, that's it for this weekend edition of the Chiefs We Hope to discuss here. We'll keep the conversation going. I'm Adeling Alpha News.
I'm Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Robbie Alampay. We are One News.